You walk into a cafe you have definitely never visited. Someone drops a spoon. A song changes. Your friend says, "This place is weirdly quiet." And suddenly, the entire moment feels recycled, not merely familiar, repeated. For 2 or 3 seconds, you are certain this has happened before. Maybe you even feel that you know what comes next. So, why does deja vu feel like a real memory when you cannot find the memory? The short answer is that your brain can produce familiarity without producing recollection. It sends a powerful signal saying, "This is old," while failing to provide the usual details of where, when, or how you experienced it. Deja vu is what that disagreement feels like from the inside. To understand why it is so convincing, we need to stop thinking of memory as a video archive. Your brain does not record your life in neat files labeled Tuesday, dentist, regrettable conversation about cryptocurrency. Memory is reconstructive. It stores pieces, relationships, patterns, emotions, locations, and meanings. Then it attempts to rebuild the past when needed. Recognition also appears to have at least two distinguishable ingredients. The first is recollection. You see someone in a grocery store and remember that he sat beside you on a flight to Denver. You can retrieve a source, a setting, perhaps even his heroic 20-minute struggle with the overhead air vent. The second is familiarity. You see the same man and simply know that you know him. No airplane appears in your mind. No Denver, just an internal glow of oldness. Usually, these two work together. Familiarity raises its hand, and recollection explains why. That face is familiar because she is your dentist. That melody is familiar because it played during every school assembly. That smell is familiar because somebody in your childhood believed boiled cabbage was dinner. But familiarity can arrive alone. You recognize the face without placing it. You know the tune, but cannot name it. You are sure you have heard a fact before, although you cannot remember whether it came from a book, a teacher, or a confident stranger beneath a video. Deja vu may be an especially intense version of this source-free familiarity. The current situation gets tagged as known, but the search for its origin returns nothing. This is why the experience feels less like imagination and more like memory. The feeling is being generated by the same recognition machinery you normally trust. Your brain does not attach a warning label saying, "Familiarity signal currently unsupported. Please remain skeptical." It gives you the signal first. Conscious explanation arrives later, carrying paperwork. And familiarity has to be fast. Imagine an animal hesitating every time it encounters a shape in the grass. Is that movement familiar? Was that watering place safe? Have I seen this animal before? A recognition system that can make rapid, rough judgments is useful, even when detailed recollection is unavailable. Human life still depends on this ability. You navigate familiar streets without remembering each previous walk. You sense that a person's behavior is unusual without listing every normal interaction. You recognize thousands of objects almost instantly, which is fortunate because carefully reinvestigating every chair would make the day difficult. The trade-off is that a fast system can occasionally produce a false positive. But why does a completely new place trigger familiarity at all? One possibility is that the moment is not completely new. Its ingredients may overlap with something stored in memory, even if you cannot consciously retrieve the source. Perhaps the cafe has the same layout as a restaurant you visited years ago. The counter is on the left, windows are behind you, and a narrow hallway runs beside the tables. The colors, people, and furniture are different, but the spatial pattern matches. Researchers have tested this idea using virtual environments. Participants were more likely to report déjà vu when a new scene shared the spatial arrangement of an earlier scene they had seen but could not consciously recall. The old experience had not vanished completely. Enough of its structure remained to produce familiarity, but not enough to identify the source. The same thing can happen with smaller fragments. a particular rhythm of conversation, a person turning while a door closes, the angle of a room, a combination of light, sound, and movement. Your present experience may partially fit an old pattern, while the original event remains inaccessible. It is like finding a key that turns slightly in a lock. Something matches, just not enough to open the door. This also helps explain why déjà vu often feels broader than ordinary familiarity. It is not just the lamp or the person that seems known. The whole arrangement feels known. The scene arrives as a package, so the familiarity spreads across the package. Then your brain notices a problem. The situation feels old, but you know it should be new. You have never entered this cafe. You just arrived in this city. The person speaking is someone you met 10 minutes ago. Research using a laboratory analog of déjà vu has found activity in brain regions associated with detecting cognitive conflict. This supports the idea that the eerie sensation may involve not only false familiarity, but also your brain recognizing that the familiarity does not make sense. That conflict is important. If you simply accepted the signal, you might form a false belief that the event really happened before. Instead, most people react with confusion. This feels familiar, but it cannot be. In other words, the weirdness may be evidence that part of your memory monitoring system is working properly. Déjà vu is not just an error, it is an error being noticed. This creates the peculiar double certainty of the experience. You feel certain that the moment is repeated, and simultaneously certain that it is not. Two internal systems make incompatible claims, leaving consciousness to stand between them like an exhausted customer service representative. Then comes the most dramatic part, the feeling that you know what will happen next. During déjà vu, some people feel that the next sentence, movement, or turn is about to unfold exactly as remembered. This is one reason the experience attracts explanations involving prophetic dreams, past lives, parallel universes, or a simulation apparently running the same 5 seconds twice. The feeling of prediction is real. That does not mean the prediction is accurate. In experiments using virtual tours, déjà vu increased participants' sense that they knew which direction the route would turn next. But in the original study, their actual predictions remained at chance. The experience created confidence without reliable foresight. That makes psychological sense. If your brain says, "This happened before," the next thought is almost automatic. Then I should know what happens next. The sensation of remembering gets mistaken for access to the remembered sequence. And real life makes this illusion easy to preserve. Most people do not announce a precise prediction before the moment happens. They wait. Something occurs, and then it feels as though that was what they expected. Human memory is very good at editing after the fact. We remember the match and quietly lose the alternatives. The prophecy survives because it was never properly submitted for inspection. None of this proves that scientists have found one complete cause of every déjà vu experience. Déjà vu is difficult to summon on command, difficult to measure, and probably not produced by a single mechanism in every case. Partial resemblance is one credible explanation. Mistaken familiarity and conflict monitoring are central research ideas. Other timing and processing theories have been proposed, but the popular claim that one eye, or one side of the brain, processes the moment a fraction late and therefore stores it twice is not an established general explanation. And science cannot use a strange feeling alone as evidence of the paranormal. A past life, or glitch in reality, may be an interesting story, but the intensity of an experience does not verify its interpretation. Brains produce convincing signals all the time. A nightmare can create genuine terror without a genuine monster. Motion sickness can create genuine nausea while you sit inside a stationary simulator. Phantom phone vibrations feel exactly like a notification from a phone that did nothing. Real feeling does not always mean accurate explanation. For most people, brief, occasional déjà vu is a normal experience. But déjà vu can also occur as part of focal seizures, including seizures involving temporal lobe memory networks. The context matters. Episodes that become frequent or unusually intense, last longer, or occur with confusion, loss of awareness, unusual smells or tastes, involuntary movements, or fainting deserve medical attention. That distinction should not make ordinary déjà vu frightening. A brief, strange moment by itself is not a diagnosis. It simply means neurological symptoms should be judged as patterns, not converted into either instant panic or instant mysticism. And perhaps that is the most revealing thing about déjà vu. We like to imagine that memory is the part of us that contains the past. But memory also shapes the present. Before you consciously decide whether something is new, trustworthy, important, or known, your brain is already producing feelings about it. Most of the time, those feelings guide you efficiently. Occasionally, the machinery becomes visible. You enter a new room, a spoon falls, a sentence begins. Familiarity arrives with complete confidence, but recollection fails to show up and explain itself. For a few seconds, you do not remember the past. You experience the brain's feeling of having a past. And because that feeling is usually reliable, its smallest false alarm can make reality itself seem repeated.